Problems in life seem to come in one of two forms. The first case is a problem where everything that you need to know in order to solve the problem is right there in front of you. These types of problems can be solved easily if you know the correct algorithm. What I mean by this is that there's a series of steps that you can take in order to get to the solution. Even if the algorithm is really complicated, it will still always work once you know how to repeat it. The second type of problem might at first seem more difficult, or even impossible. This type of problem requires additional information before you can determine the solution's algorithm. There's a trick to getting this problem off. I'll let you figure it out as I show you how I made this. I'm starting out by making two parts like this, which are just 68mm circles. This smaller circle has a diameter of 48mm, and it'll be used to determine where the centers of the posts are. My goal here is to be extremely precise. Here you can see that the stalk is quite a bit thicker than this disc. The center holes are special, so if you were suspicious of that center post, you guessed right. One of the two center holes has to be drilled as deep as possible. To do this, I sharpened a piece of the 1/4-inch rod that I'm using for the posts into kind of a drill bit. So first I drilled the bulk of the hole out with the Forstner bit. Then I used the specialty bit to kind of just scrape the bottom of the hole clean. The depth that we drill this second center hole is determined by this magnet. The magnet can be epoxied in now at any time, and we want it set in so that it's sunk in about 1/8 of an inch. In the interest of keeping this reasonably short, I'll skip the details to the finishing process, except to say that I used a spray-on lacquer, until finally you buff the finish and it gives it this nice shine. And just in case you're actually interested in building one of these projects, here's everything that you'll need to find this part. Now it's time to figure out the length of this center post, so I'm dry fitting it all together. When the center post is seated all the way down away from the magnet like this. Now I'm just about ready to put it all together. I expect there to be some squeeze out from the epoxy, so I'm applying some car wax in the hopes that it'll create kind of a barrier that'll help keep the epoxy from bonding. In order to ensure that I get the strongest possible bond, I put a few superficial hacksaw cuts on the tops and bottoms of these posts. I'm only doing 1/2 at a time just so that I don't have to rush, but at this point it's fairly easy to remove any squeeze out with a rag that has some car wax on it. Well, I really appreciate you watching this, and I hope you found it interesting. And let me know just exactly when it was that you figured out how this worked. Thanks again.
Farmers are very proud of this. You won't see anything like this anywhere else. In matter of taste, there can be no disputes here. Nobody cares what's inside of it. The most important is geometric accuracy. Shape is much more important than contents. In order to turn a round shape into a cube, it has to be put inside of this kind of metal form. All you need is waiting until it fills it completely. This one is almost done. Squares are not easy to find. There are only 200 or 300 of them per year. Hiroko Yamashita complains that this year's harvest is not so plentiful. There was not rainy enough in May, so only a few dozen was taken from one field. You must take care of every single one as if it's your child, says Yamashita-san. You have to watch carefully. It must be checked several times every day. If you miss the time for cutting, all efforts will go in vain. In the very beginning, the idea to grow a shape of cube considered as an elegant way to improve keeping and transportation. It had to be perfectly fit to the height of shelf of refrigerators. But when it was put into practice, it happened that improving the shape could be done only at the expense of inner quality. Never ever try to do this. Piece of agricultural art is not for food. The problem is that when they get the proper shape, most of them still are not ripe, explains Toshiyuki Yamashita in Zentsuji town. They just don't have enough time for that. So finally we decided that it was better to turn square into ornamental form. Just like in the fine arts, the agricultural cubism can't be understood by everyone. Connoisseurs can buy one for $100 in the supermarkets of big cities. Ordinary ones are 3 to 4 times cheaper.
Good nutrition and good health are inseparable. No one can do his full part in the war effort without good health. Realizing this fact, government agencies have joined in a national nutrition program and are working with your state, county, and city nutrition committees in their attack on local nutrition problems. You can help just by helping yourself to the right food. Make a real effort to choose a nutritious diet every day. To do this, every citizen should have a down-to-earth working knowledge of modern nutrition. Resolve now to study the daily nutritive requirements recommended by the National Nutrition Program. Study, too, the nutritive values of the many foods now available. You can be well nourished by planning your daily diet carefully, by using wisely the many nutritious unrationed foods, and by using your full share of rationed foods. Every one of us must do this. For today, we have no choice. War demands that no one waste food. War demands that we use the good foods available to us to build an armor of health.
While I possessed nothing more than my cot and my books, I was happy. I now have 9 chickens and a rooster, and my soul is disturbed. Property has made me cruel. Whenever I bought a hen, I would tie her to a tree for 2 days to impose my domicile, destroying in her fragile memory the love of her former residence. I patched the fence of my yard, in order to avoid the invasion of my birds and the invasion of foxes of 4 and 2 feet. I isolated myself, fortified the border, drew a diabolical line between my neighbor and me. I divided mankind into 2 categories. I, the owner of my chickens, and the others who could take them away. I defined the crime. The world was filled for me by suspected thieves, and for the first time I sent a hostile glance on the other side of the fence. My cock was too young. The neighbor's rooster jumped the fence and began to make the court to my hens and to bitter the existence of my cock. I sacked the intruder with stones, but they jumped the fence and laid eggs inside the neighbor's house. I claimed the eggs and my neighbor began to hate me. From then on, I saw his face over the fence, his inquisitive and hostile look, identical to mine. His chickens passed the fence, and they devoured the wet corn that consecrated my chickens. The other chickens seemed criminals to me. I chased them, and blinded by rage, I killed one. The neighbor attributed great importance to the attack. He refused to accept financial compensation. He severely removed the corpse of his chicken, and instead of eating it, he showed it to his friends, and then the legend of my imperialist brutality began to circulate through all the town. I had to reinforce the fence, increase vigilance, raise, in one word, my war budget. The neighbor has a dog determined to everything. I intend to get a revolver. Where is my good old tranquility? I am poisoned by mistrust and hatred. The evil spirit has taken over me. I used to be a man. I am now an owner.